Yo summoners, welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Kirks and today we're going to show you our high ELO tier list. So I hope you're ready for some potentially controversial standings, cause who knows, maybe you'll find some or maybe you won't. But anyway, let's get straight to it. First up comes the Baron lane. Here we have the good old Camille, a champion that is often banned away for a few reasons. Taking fleet footwork on her makes her basically able to play into any other laner. However, doing so will cost her a bit of carry potential, as she'll really feel the lack of Conqueror throughout the game. Luckily for her though, she is able to be played in multiple ways. You can split push, go for frequent rotational plays, and obviously isolate an enemy in a teamfight situation. And engaging for her is one of the easiest things to do. Just hookshot into a wall and slow the enemy with the second ability, and it's most of the time already enough to secure a kill. And in any case that might not be enough, she can just utilize the ultimate ability to lock someone down. With all that combined, she's definitely not a champion you want to face. In lane, she's also relatively strong, as her second ability's damage is out of this world. Even better is the fact that her adaptive shield comes in clutch in most situations, granting her a vast HP advantage over her opponent. If you combine all of that with her auto attack cancels and her attack speed steroid, you best believe you're in for a good time. And here are some general tips. For lane, it becomes way easier to bully the enemy once you acquire Sheen, and your damage skyrockets with Triforce. But on 2 or 3 items, your champion becomes a real nuisance to deal with. Can't kill her, can't catch her, can't get away from her. Sounds good? Sounds like Camille. Now from a really good champion to a champion that is really not the strongest. He has barely any matchups that are actually playable for him, and his carry potential is rather low if he doesn't have a team. However, my friend Winday can prove to you that even with this weak champion, you can easily hit Challenger without breaking a sweat. Just take a look. And if there's anything you need to know about this champions, here are a few secrets. Don't leash for your jungle. If you give up lane agency level 1, you'll be in a very bad spot, since you can barely compete with any other champion. That said, you can still do plenty of things, especially thanks to the fact that barely anyone has ever played against this champion. You'd be surprised to know that most people have no idea that your champion can flip someone around, which, on level 2 and inside your minion wave, can really turn the tides in your favor. But beware, you need a very strong mental game if you want to play this champion, because not only the enemies will assault you, but also, perhaps, your teammates. But before we take a look at the list, let's talk about our question of the day. How far away are you from your seasonal ELO goal? Or do you even have one? And as per usual, let us know in the comments below. And now, let's take a look at the full Baron tier list. So it's time to leave the Baron lane island and move on to the guerrilla tactics in the jungle. For this list, we've prepared 2 champions that love farming the innocent and squishy enemies. First, we have Khazix, a champion I personally love and used to easily climb to Challenger in Season 3. And in case you didn't know, I'm going for Challenger on all roles, and now there's only 80 carry and Baron lane left to do, which will be done in the next season. But now let's talk about why Khazix is such a power pick in solo queue. He offers insanely high damage while being super hard to catch. If anything, his biggest weakness is his early game. Level 1 to 4 he doesn't offer too much, but the moment he hits level 5, everything changes. He's now capable of annihilating anything in a 1v1, and from there it only gets worse. You might even say that his entire style of playing changes with every evolution. So level 5, 9 and 13 he becomes a different character. With that, he's by far the most versatile assassin there is and can do everything from engaging to peeling and much more. So time to talk about something interesting. Many Khazix players swear on the level 9 Wing Evolve. But I cannot agree. It's an evolve that requires so many conditions to be fulfilled, and most of the time you need your team to do the heavy lifting, as you're only able to participate when somebody completely isolates himself. So in any deathball or teamfight scenario, you're just a minion. Obviously though, it can work and it can be easily perceived as good to the nature of solo queue. However, the variance with that evolve might be too high. On the other hand, the Spike Evolve grants you the ability to participate from afar and even help your team when they decide to run it down again. Here it's also very important to mention that being able to deal damage without putting yourself at risk is invaluable for solo queue. So go and test the following evolves and judge for yourself what seems best. For one, evolve your first, then third, and lastly your second ability. Or evolve your first, then your second, and then your third ability. Now onwards to the second one, Riven. Yet another champion that is obnoxiously hard to catch thanks to itemization, granting her infinite amounts of ability haste and tankiness at the same time. With the right items, so Black Cleaver, Death Stance and defensive boots with a Gargoyle enchant, she literally becomes unkillable. Her cooldowns are so low that she can shield herself every few seconds and move around the map in a flash. Another nice feature of Riven is her ability to instantly full stack a Conqueror by weaving auto attacks in between every use of her first ability. However, if you want to be really advanced, you can also add some animation cancels. Her third use of the first ability and her third ability basically function as animation cancels. So if you input your second charge of ult briefly before you cast your first ability's jump, you'll see that your character does both at the same time. The same applies to your third ability. Otherwise, you'd waste some extra valuable time in which you'd lose out on damage, and no one wants that. For the jungle clear, we want to full clear our red buff side and then force fights since we're an absolute monster in terms of skirmishing. So don't shy away from invading or fighting, it's insanely good with this champion. And with that said, let's take a look at our complete jungle tier list. Done with the jungle, now it's time for the center of the map, the middle lane. For this we've prepared Yasuo. Even though Charge Blade has been nerfed a few times, it's still the most broken item to rush on this character. Granting him 100% crit on a one item spike is absurd and absolutely overtuned. That is, if the Yasuo player uses the item correctly. Afterwards, you can just buy a recurve bow to cap out your first ability's cooldown and then go straight into an Affinity Edge. With that, your damage will spike through the roof and you're gonna one-tap anything squishy. Next up is a champion that has a hard time finding a place to stay, Akshan. Many people have guessed him to be a dragon laner, but if anything, he's most suitable for the middle lane. From here, he can freely rotate to any lane without being spotted thanks to his stealth mechanic. But his biggest trait, at least from my perspective, is him being able to revive his teammates. Like, let's be honest here, how broken is that? Imagine a late game scenario in which the enemy just got a triple kill. Briefly after, you kill the scoundrel and revive all your teammates who have died to him, whereas the enemy teammates are either dead or low HP. That's nuts! And that doesn't even include his ability to swing around like a madman in fights, dishing out crazy amounts of damage. So, when we are speaking about items, you want to go Blade of the Rune King, Wit's End, but only if you're against two magic damage dealers, and Runan's Hurricane. Just check out the damage with this core build. It's illegal. And now take a look at the full mid lane tier list. Let's move on from the middle lane to the dragon lane, and especially to the AD carries. We'll start with Draven. This champion is honestly not balanced in any world when it comes to dealing damage. Specifically in solo queue, you can take over games so unbelievably fast thanks to his Adoration passive, because it turns out if you get more gold for kills, it's kinda good for a hyperscaling role. However, Draven requires a certain mindset to be played effectively, meaning be aggressive. Here I want to put extra emphasis on that since most dragon laners have become overly passive. But for what reason? Because Alistar fell out of the meta and people picked up Enchanters? But even then, Enchanters can be played hyper-aggressive as well, so why are dragon laners so scared? They don't know their limits and didn't learn the do's and don'ts for their respective matchup. That would be at least my guess. But sadly, we cannot know that. Also, don't mistake Draven for a champion that doesn't scale. He in fact does scale and his ultimate can turn an entire teamfight on its own. And our next champion can turn teamfights on her own as well. And trust me, Vayne is infamous for her carry potential. This champion has been blessed by Riot Games with the implementation of Solari Charge Blade and she loves it, just like Yasuo. Her 2-item spike with Blade of the Rune King and Charge Blade is beyond crazy, and if she gets to Infinity Edge as a third item, it's most likely game over. She is also very mobile and hard to catch, at least in the sense that her invisibility grants her a lot of breathing room in fights. This combined with her unreal single target damage makes her an absolute monster to deal with for anyone that has to get close to her. Another neat feature of Vayne is also her ability to sidelane into a lot of different champions. I mean, she's an insane duelist for a reason, so don't try to push your luck 1v1ing her. It might end up completely different as to what you have imagined before. And since we don't want to imagine the tier list for the AD carries, we'll just show it to you. And what would our lovely attack damage carries do without their babysitters, the support role? First up here comes Senna. Well, technically speaking, it's going to be fasting Senna, but since she isn't the one farming, you might as well call her support. You can pair her up with any kind of mage or something that offers decent wave clear. On the other hand, she'll provide you with healing, poke and super strong scaling. Since they removed Frozen Mallet, her build kinda shifted from a Grasp of the Undying Black Cleaver angle to a Mana Immune, Mortal Reminder and Conqueror or Fleet Footwork angle. So what makes her so annoying to deal with? Well, for one, the previously mentioned traits and the fact that she can put her entire team into a submarine. What does this mean? So, upon casting a third ability, all allied champions within a circle become invisible, at least until they cast a spell, attack or leave the circle. If they leave the circle without doing anything, they'll be displayed as a mist wraith. So, you don't really know what champion you're currently looking at. But the most broken part about this is the invisibility part when it comes to champions that want to engage you. They can just instantly engage you from out of vision because, duh, you don't know what's in the circle. And then you're instantly dead. Great, right? Oh yeah, and did I mention her basically infinite range? It's funny. And since we're talking about great things, what about Brash? He's a champion with a super high skill ceiling that loves terrorizing the map with his infinite play opportunities, offering allies safe passage out of any kind of sketchy situation or fishing for that one hook to change the game. Brash brings all of that to the table and even better. In lane, he's gonna slap you to death. His third ability's passive damage is nuts, so please don't try to trade a single auto attack with him in lane. You're going to lose. And the latest you're going to lose when he decides to flash in your face and flay you into your certain demise. Yeah, of course, you can flash away, but did you forget about his hook? He'll quickly reel you back in and that's as far as your story goes. And this is our full support tier list. And with that, we are also at the end of today's video. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See ya!